Yeah. Um, so what learning disabilities do you think make up the largest like percentage of the population?
The two that you listed, yeah, we're like
Okay.
51%. I actually have my marketing stuff. I think we're like 52%, 55% ASD diagnosis. So they're on the spectrum. And then almost all of our students have ADD or ADHD.
Okay. Cool. Um, what does school look like on a day-to-day basis, like
Sure.
with outdoor components and not just in the
Yeah, sure.
classroom?
So in the morning time, from about 7 in the morning till about 8 in the morning, the staff, we have life skills coaches, academic coaches, and recreation aides that
Mhm.
help support the students with their morning routine. So we're big on executive functioning and activities of daily living. That may incorporate some self-soothing walks outside. Depending on the time of year, we back up. We've got about 60 acres at Brent Preparatory School. Our post-secondary program backs up to a forest, although we rent within a college community.
Okay.
So we've got deer and possum and turkey and fox and coyotes and all sorts of stuff that
Mhm.
kind of come around. And then we have a walking path around a pond. So in the morning time, if their morning routine is good, we encourage them to walk or ride their bike to classes. We do have a vehicle that transports students if needed, especially in adverse weather.
Mhm.
After about 8:15, classes start, and we'll have a pretty rigorous schedule to about 3:30 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. For the high school program, I think they've got, let me double check, they got 7 periods throughout the day, and they're
Okay.
going to rotate through speech and language services. So we have individual and group therapies that take place. We have an Aerosmith program. If you're not familiar with Barbara Aerosmith, she is
I
amazing.
think so.
She wrote a book about how to change her mind, and she's big about neuroplasticity. So, how to reconnect synapses around deadened areas or areas that have not been evoked in a long time.
Okay.
So, there's a couple different programs they can work on that. And then there's all sorts of math, English, reading, um, sciences. And then a lot of our students will also take classes at the community college.
Mhm.
If you're familiar with Twice Exceptional, a lot of our students might have social deficits, but off the scale IQ, full
Mhm.
scale IQs in the 120, 130s.
Wow.
Typically, our students are 65 to 85, but those
Mhm.
kids that are off the chart may take some AP classes at the community college. Um,
Awesome.
and then in the evening routine, it just rotates throughout out the week. So there might be some registered student organizations at the college they participate in. There could be different clubs. There are different clubs on Brems campus that the high school students interact with.
Mhm.
Some of it's like the Be Good Club, right? So they're volunteering for non-for-profits and homeless shelters, and some of the churches to do cooking. There's on-campus projects that they can do, and we also have a wood shop. So if they're building like a birdhouse for the um, I can't think of the birds, the bluebirds that come through or whatever
Mhm.
it might be. We've done bat houses, we've done owl houses. So that ties into experiential. So it's classroom based, but then
Yeah.
it carries over to the outside. And then most of our classes are small class size. So anywhere from
Mhm.
6 to 10 students, typically 5 to 8 students per classroom. And it's individualized services. So based on the students' levels of education, but also deficit areas, our teachers are adapt to be able to teach a class, but teach individually to each student.
Right.
Hands-on are key. We have a lot of auditory learners and visual learners, so we tie in both of those. And I think that also plays into the weekend recs, getting back to when they're done with school, when they're out in the apartments, they might be working on chores, cooking, study hours, social dynamics, fiscal management, hygiene, um, dating, intimacy,
Mhm.
navigating a college campus, whatever that looks like. A lot of that does try to take place outside. A lot of times it's more soothing for students to be outside,
Mhm.
and other times there's a lot of distractions too.
You're right.
SIU's got an aviation program, and we're
Mhm.
next to one of the main roads that go into Carbondale, so there can be some visual distractions there.
Yeah.
And then on weekends, there's structured recreation activities that take place. There's either leisure guidance, so we're planning for the unstructured time, or there's staff and student planned activities that they're engaging in. They have to choose a certain amount of activities to engage in throughout the week in order to
Mhm.
meet their tier level or their responsibility as a young adult to be more social. But we also know that social isolation and time to disengage is big. So a
Mhm.
lot of times there's some self meditation, yoga, hot stones, you name it, just reading, sometimes just vegging out. Um,
Mhm.
is also pretty important too. And we build those into transition times as well. So a lot of times, if the bell schedule is 5 minutes, our bell schedule might be 15 minutes
Okay.
between functions.
Mm-hmm. That's
But
awesome.
okay,
Um, so I heard you mention the tier system. Is
yes.
that like how you guys measure growth and success?
Well, we have an IHAP, an individual holistic education plan. I'm sure you're familiar with IEPs in school
Mm-hmm.
districts,
Yeah.
529 plan. So most of our students have an individual education plan. At the high school, we call it the individual holistic education plan. So we dive a little bit deeper into the social emotional as it ties into goals and objectives for main points. And then at the post-secondary program for the college students, we have an individual program plan. And
Okay.
those goals and objectives aren't measurable like SMART goals that you would see in a high school. They may be more
Mm-hmm.
matter of fact or more real life. But it is a behavior modification system that we use that ties into a personal development record. So a lot of times their behaviors or consequences or lack thereof ties into their privileges and responsibilities, meaning it impacts their recreation experience because it may limit the amount of time they have to check off independently, right? So they crave that piece,
Mm-hmm.
but they hold them back to do some more therapies before they're better able to manage a more independent setting.
Mm-hmm.
So the personal development record ties into the tier system. It's 0 through 5. Zero is refusal, one's lack of understanding, two's direct instruction, three's guided practice, four is prompts, five's independence.
Okay.
And then there's ini first initiated, right? And then there's
Mm-hmm.
progressing and met. So if a student's doing really well, but he's getting direct instruction, there's still quite a ways to go.
Right.
The PDR level, 0 through 5, also ties into their actual level of engagement in program. So if they're on PDR 5, they can check off independently. They get
Mm-hmm.
$30 a week for their budget. They can drive their car. They can write a proposal for a TV in their room. If
Mm-hmm.
they're on zero, they have 3 hours of study hours. They can't check off independently. And then, of course, you can kind of bridge the gap between the
Right.
two.
And is that program, is that like house, do you make that in-house or is it a specific program that you guys use?
So since 1982, we've been going to so many different conferences that I
Mm-hmm.
feel as though it's melted from other programs over the last 45 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then we critiqued it to our own. And then every summer we retweak it again based on social norms, feedback from families, feedback from
Mm-hmm.
student council, and direct feedback from students that maybe have had some troubles or great successes and wanted to tweak it. So it's an ongoing process.
Right. Awesome. Um, what I guess techniques and approaches have you guys like learned that work best for your students?
Sure. Um, of course, a strong holistic approach. So understanding that your overall social well-being and the impact goes much deeper. Because a lot of times adults have a little bit tougher skin, where our students sometimes have NVLD, nonverbal learning disabilities. They can't pick up on social cues. Our rate of speech, our implications of raising our voice or looking big. So a lot of times it's just the way in which we act around them as a mentor, but also when things are not going well to stay consistent. So one, stay consistent. Two, have a really good therapeutic stance. So knowing that we're the professional, they're the student, but at times with a family model, having more of a heart for
Yeah.
what's going on and
Mm-hmm.
understanding, allowing the student to have time to process the question or what's taking place. So there's time if they escalate, we disengage instead
Mm-hmm.
of staying in the moment.
Okay.
Uh, we have built-in layers of therapy in program, although we're not a therapeutic program. We have a social work, masters of social work. We have a bunch of them, but one's the boss.
Mm-hmm.
And then our director of student services is a certified counselor, therapy, art therapist. My degree is in outdoor and therapeutic rec. So we've got quite a bit of layers in which they can move up the scaffolding.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime the student then becomes more confrontational, escalated, physically aggressive, suicidal ideation, then we
Mm-hmm.
do ask the student to maybe set into a more therapeutic or hospital setting to get addressed
Okay.
before they come back to us.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is being more proactive than reactive. So being in front of the kid, meaning knowing that they failed their math test last week, Johnny broke up with them a couple
Mm-hmm.
of days ago, dog just died at home, whatever it might be, a test that they don't want to take. So we can build in some therapies and some touch points ahead of time so that when things don't go well, we already knew the outcome possibly.
Mm-hmm.
We averted it by building in more supports, and that's been key
Okay.
too.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. And is it like a is it year round?
yeah, so we're a 10-month we have rolling admissions, but
Mm-hmm.
both of our programs are 12-month. We do
Okay.
have a little bit of a gap. So the high school has like a true summer immersion program, which is more like a camp-like experience.
Mm-hmm.
Options program stays on a collegiate schedule. So we follow John A. Logan College. So we've got like intersessions that the students go home for. And then,
Mm-hmm.
not to get too in depth, but Bram has the junior high and high school. Options has standard, modified, and extension. So there's three different layers or levels within our highest phase of programming
Okay.
where the scaffolding kind of gets removed, right? Like they don't have
Mm-hmm.
curfew the second year. The third year, they can have their own lease in town and um, partake and have a little bit more of their own kind
Right.
of individual supports.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Um, what specific learning outcomes do you hope that your students gain from just a year at school
Yeah.
or
So
the
in a
full four
year, a
years?
lot of our students are with us for 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But in a year, that's typically first you have the honeymoon period. So everything's gravy, everything's pretty chill in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. They get comfortable, they let their guard down, and that's when you start seeing more behavioral or lack thereof of interest in the program, kind
Mm-hmm.
of burnout.
Yeah.
Uh, so we set our goals and objectives to be not easily met, but in smaller chunks.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at the grand goal, each student's completely individual. So I know it's kind of a loaded question for you, um, but one, to be empowered, um, to recognize their differences and celebrate their successes,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to have a better interaction with peers, for sure, like one or two good friends, um, to understand the big picture. So to step away from the day to day or minute to minute, in which our students have to navigate because they're so caught up in the processing and sequencing and wanting to present as neurotypical,
Mm-hmm.
or embracing neurodiverse so much that it impacts them in a way that they're socially awkward. So some of the goals and objectives will be based on fulfilling their life, and of course in therapeutic rec, right? It doesn't matter how impacted you are or deficit areas, as long as you have a quality of life, it's really
Right.
important. So
Mm-hmm.
focusing on strengths, finding ways to express themselves, whatever that might be.
Mm-hmm.
At college town, it's nice because they can really express themselves how they would like.
Yeah.
But going back to maybe a lot of our families are very wealthy and come from very
Mm-hmm.
um, generational wealth. So when they get back to their communities, there's not a lot of young people. So how do they, as a goal, how do they transition back to where they're going to live long term and be successful to be able to find the resources?
Mm-hmm.
So that might be disability support services or Department of Health, some vocational, um,
Mm-hmm.
and also our students do very well finding their tribe, or finding their people. So allowing them a safe transition. A lot of our students are susceptible to um, being bullied or being taken advantage of because they want that friendship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not uncommon that that happens too. So going back to kind of what the goals are, one, it's to empower the students to have a better life, to be more self-aware of their strengths instead of just focusing on their deficit areas all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Physical management, hygiene, and also recognizing areas that are deficit areas that they might need more support and being able to advocate. Unfortunately, our current state of America is
Yeah.
tough because there's not a ton of resources out there, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a while until that
Mm-hmm.
happens. So I'm feeling pretty bad for some of the kids that don't have resources right now.
Yeah.
That. So hopefully that also allows them more insight to their government. We've
Mm-hmm.
started some political classes, which we've never done ever. Um,
Wow. I mean, now's the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's been tough too.
Yeah. Do a lot of your students like do they start off in like a mainstream public school and then transfer
Yep, great question.
or yeah.
Yeah, so most of our students started mostly in. We have some students that are co-op and homeschool, uh,
Mm-hmm.
very small percentage. Most of our students will come from a high school setting in which they failed out or socially, emotionally just kind of left or got shut down.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple different routes that the family can take. One, if they feel the school district didn't uphold their responsibilities with the IEP or 529,
Mhm.
They can work with the school district to help offset the cost for private schools, or they can go into a settlement or a litigation against the school district and then get a settlement for payment for a couple of years. Or they'll come from therapeutic settings like a Maplebrook or a Menninger or a Spiro, which are
Mhm.
like the old Seuss program. You may not know, but like the old hippie kind of 30-day wilderness
Okay, yeah.
programs that have all been
Mhm.
bought up by corporations,
Yeah.
like a Spiro. Those programs have step up and step down. So we may send a kid to them, but they may have a kid coming out of a 30-day that's good to go for us, and we can.
Okay.
So there's that. And then the number one way we get students is educational consultants. So families will spend anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000 for a placement for their son or daughter.
Okay. Nice. Um, I just thought of something to ask you, but I
Yeah,
totally just forgot.
all good.
Um,
And
Maybe it'll come back to me.
we have a good pathway too, right? So the
Hmm.
students can come in junior high, like the synergy across programs. They can come in junior as a junior, right? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, junior high, go through all of
Hmm.
high school, and if they still need us, can stay with us for 3 or 4 years or a lifetime if they wanted to. So
Okay.
for some families, they've jumped around so much. So we have
Hmm.
a lot of people from the State Department that have been deployed around the world and all sorts of stuff. So and just families, a lot of CEOs of companies, the medical industry, a lot of our doctors change hospitals throughout
Hmm.
the years, which is kind of weird. So those families have that stability of knowing their son or daughter or they them are in our program and stable, and there's those transition pieces really impact them. The
Hmm.
anxiety goes through the roof. So it allows them to have a more stable learning environment while they're with us. That's one of the pros of Bremen options.
Hmm. Um, like, do you know of any other schools or programs around the country that you either like is like a sister school or that you just look to or they look to you as like a
Um,
partner in any way?
yeah, we do work with a lot of different schools. The high school works with copious amount of schools on the East Coast. So
Hmm.
East Coast charter schools is where it all started. I mean, you've got like Maplebrook is a good one. Landmark High School is a really good one. Um, let me yeah, we've got like college living experience would be similar to the post-secondary program. So
Okay.
college living experience and Mansfield Hall
Hmm.
are good programs to possibly connect with. Um, there's also programs out there that are more lifelong based, so not just education based. Like there's one in Aurora, Illinois called Weston Bridges, or
Hmm.
there's one in North Carolina called Osprey. A lot of those will be part of the IDD community, so intellectual and just different disabilities as well as Down syndrome. So a lot of time in those more lifelong syndromes, you'll have a Down syndrome population that are kind of their start, and then they'll branch off from there. Um, there's a really good school in Chicago called the Cove School. I know the director would speak to you. She's phenomenal. So that's like a conglomerate of a bunch of different schools in Chicago that buses their kids to one main school for their LD
Okay.
population. And that'd be a really good resource for you too.
Yeah, I'll definitely reach out to them.
Because some are residential based, right? So we have our
Hmm.
kids 24/7.
Right.
Other programs, is a day program. We offer day programming for our students, but we don't have very many. And we feel having them here for that, the overall social emotional, the independent living, all of it, the holistic model is why our students show gains even after 1 year.
Yeah, that's very understandable. And I feel like it's something that I was gonna ask because we are talking about resources. What was it? It'll come to me. I know it will. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
You can even
Um,
do if you think of it later and have an aha moment.
yeah. Um, how did you guys like come to be? Like,
Yeah, I'll give you a quick story.
yeah.
Carol Brem lived in Mount Vernon, Illinois, about 45 minutes north of us. It
Hmm.
happens to be quite the oil fields. So they were digging in their backyard, struck gold. So they became Brem Oil.
Okay.
And Brem Oil, Carol Brem, and her husband had a son named Tyson. There was three kids: Stacy Tate, who's now the head of our board, and her brother Tyson had complex learning disabilities as well as some medical issues. Was shipped off to the East Coast at a young age, and it just didn't feel right for these Midwest families because there was a pretty uh, Midwest has this family model. East Coast was a little bit colder back
Hmm.
then in the way that it's just different.
Yeah.
Old money, new money kind of deal. So they didn't like it. Tyson wasn't doing good. So Carol touched base with Caldoni, Dr. Caldoni at SIU, and four founding special ed teachers. Then Carol had the money, the SIU had the expertise.
Hmm.
They conversed, had synergy, and then broke ground in 1980. And then we still have one staff on from the original groundbreaking, and
Wow.
the original staff retired and still live in Carbondale. So I'm a Shar Reed was a mentor of mine, and she was one of the original groundbreaking staff
That's
that
really cool.
up in 1982.
Yeah.
Mason has since passed. We have one of the halls named after him, one of our classrooms.
Hmm.
But Stacy and her daughter, third generation, are on our board, which is really cool to kind of see that
Hmm.
family model continue.
Yeah, that's just really cool.
And then also, SIU, Southern Illinois University, has the
Hmm.
Achieve program, and Dr. Caldoni was in charge of the Achieve program at that time, which is the first LD support program out of any four-year university in the country. Others will
Wow.
claim it, but SIU was the
Hmm.
first. And Rogers in charge of that program now. Now it's only education based. They don't have the full scope, but some of our students will transition to that program. Um, and I know you didn't ask, but sometimes after they leave us, it might be aspirational to go to a college away from SIU. So
Hmm.
there's two big schools that are LD focused, and that's Beacon College down in Florida and Landmark University in Burlington, Vermont, home of Fish. So it's like a cool little setup for the kids that they can.
Hmm.
There's like aspiration above options, so they can get through us and then go.
Right.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's
Um, yeah. Um, have you found like, do you guys do like scholarships or anything? Because I know
not
it's,
way expensive. So yeah,
yeah,
we're
expensive. And also, I feel like there's not a lot of, like, I feel like there needs to be more options for kids with learning disabilities
yep,
because there's only so many schools like you guys
yep.
everywhere.
Yeah,
So,
and so we're 93,000 for 10 months. We're 116,000 for a year. So
hmm.
and some of these families have two kids with us, so it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
We do not have any scholarships. Through the
Mhm.
pandemic, we've depleted our foundation. So we helped as many families as we could in the short term coming out of the pandemic.
Mhm.
In turn, um, ran out of scholarship dollars. So the students can fill out a FAST form of family. It's very intrusive into their financials, but it allows us to see if we can do a lower price point on tuition. It's almost like a loan forgiveness to where we could award them 10,000, but the foundation doesn't typically pay the school right. It's just a way to get the students in.
Okay.
Um, or there's some local programs
Mhm.
or companies that help offset the cost for families to be here. That's happened. Um, or we'll work with families to help write grants or, get
Mhm.
some scholarship dollars, but that's very rare.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, it's a lot.
Hmm. I know. I wish more was being done,
Yes, and we're a non-for-profit.
but
Um, we
okay.
we typically operate in the negative, so we'll typically
Hmm.
operate in the red, and then make it up through philanthropy. So we make it up through charitable donations to close the books pretty much even.
Hmm. Nice. That's really all the questions I have for my project.
Cool.
But I wanted to ask you how you like got into rec therapy and like, did you go to grad school for that or?
No, actually, what was crazy is I applied at Brehm. So I was in high school. I always protected all the kids that were getting picked on,
Hmm.
kids with physical disabilities. So I was always the advocate for kids with wheelchairs, helped with like potable stuff in the bathrooms and all that stuff ever
Hmm.
since I was young. So my mom worked in a nurse, she was a nurse, and my dad owned a veterinary hospital, so I always just helped and saved stuff. I'm the oldest of
Hmm.
six. Um, my background is in fishing. So I used to go to Canada and fly in fishing trips and spent almost my whole life outdoors in northern Wisconsin and Minnesota. Uh,
Hmm.
So that was huge, right?
Yeah,
And then after high school, I was a ski bum in Telluride, Colorado for 3 years, and traveled with Grateful Dead and fished for a while and just kind of lived on the road and
that's awesome. That sounds
fun.
very fun.
So 3 years of that.
Yeah.
But then after 3 years, recognized that there was a need to like stabilize, figure out
Mm-hmm.
life, have insurance and all that stuff because I was cooking at nighttime a lot. So I was doing
Hmm.
the ski bum thing, but cooking at night. So I was in a playground. If you've ever been to Telluride, Colorado, it's phenomenal.
I don't think I have.
But it's a playground of the outdoors. So
Okay.
I was able to ski. I was sponsored by Volant Skis. I was working
Mhm.
in some of the bike shops, just doing it.
Yeah.
But I knew that I wanted to be on the management side.
Hmm.
In the state of Illinois, well, I blew my knee out in a train park, moved back to St. Charles, Illinois, suburb, and at that point, wanted a career in park districts. And in the state of Illinois, park districts are huge, and you had to
Hmm.
have an administrative degree. So my buddy came to SIU with aviation. I lived with him out in Colorado and came down here for a weekend and fell in love with it. uh,
Hmm.
Carbondale's quite fun, as your teacher will tell you.
Yeah,
A little too much. So
I'll have to ask him about that.
started right in with the rec program. I have a math deficit, so I wasn't able to take a lot of the math classes
Hmm.
in order to get some different degrees. I was looking at forestry as well. But when I found outdoor rec and then found the sample of therapeutic and corporate rec back then, which
Hmm.
was facility design and management, I knew that was it. So went to the community college, got my hard stuff, my like baseline classes out of the way,
Hmm.
got sucked into SIU, and at that time it was one of the best. I mean, you had Indiana, you had us, and then a couple other actually you guys,
Hmm.
a couple other programs that were kind of on the map. But back then SIU was rocking.
Yeah.
Got my degree, but while I was getting my undergrad in outdoor rec, and it was like leisure service management back then.
Hmm.
So I applied for a part-time position at Brent Preparatory School 22 years ago, and I worked hourly about 6 hours a week. And every couple of years, I was getting ready to leave, and a position would open up, and I just moved up. So I was a recreation aide, academic coach. Then
Hmm.
I was a life skills coach. Then I was the independent living supervisor, and then I did that for about 15 years. And about 6 or 7 years ago, right before the pandemic, about a year or two,
Hmm.
my boss resigned. I was interim head of the program, and then the board approved me becoming the director. So this is not anywhere where I thought I'd ever be.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
because I'd love to. I don't know exactly what I want to go into quite
mm,
yet. Um, I think I want to work with people with disabilities, in the outdoor setting in some sort. Um, or go into like the therapeutic side. So I'm trying to figure that out, and um I had to do an internship over the summer. Um I this is my last semester of like classes, and then I have to do an internship in the summer. So if you have any recommendations of places that that offer internships anywhere
yeah, so
that
it's hard.
helps.
The CTRS certification, my wife's a certified therapeutic rec
Hmm.
person. She works at traumatic brain injuries at a place called Neuro Restorative, but it's corporate and it's crazy. Um, one gentleman, it's called Touch of Nature Environmental Center.
Hmm.
And the director's name's Brian Croft. He would be, if you can get him, he would be awesome to talk to. Um, I'm going to see if I can send you his contact. Actually, let me look it up while we're talking. We don't have a lot of students over the summertime.
Hmm.
I would say that here would be awesome, but we don't have the robustness of something that would be super, super awesome.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so Brian Croft,
Minecraft.
and his email is, I'm sure it's Brian Croft at siu.edu. Let's see. This kid is all about it. He's not a kid, he's probably my age. I'm
Yeah.
still,
Yeah, just it has to be over 10 weeks for it's like 40 hours a week for 10 weeks.
yeah, that's, and
Uh,
he can also, he is, are you familiar with EEA or Experiential Education Association, the EEA?
mm-mm.
So check out EEA. Let me just make sure I got that right.
Have you heard of SOAR in North
Oh
Carolina?
yeah,
In
I know
Wyoming?
Big John.
Yeah, yeah, I interviewed with him as well, and they're also awesome, an
And I
awesome
know
school.
this sounds very cheesy, but when you talk to him next, be like, I just talked to Brent Preparatory School, and he and Scott said, like, no joke. I would
Hmm.
definitely use that. He loves us. We love him. Um, I used to send him students a lot. They have a summer program. They have a
Right.
semester-based program
Hmm.
to get students from. But Big John is phenomenal. I would highly recommend if you can get a job there and you can use us as a platform, or at least say, hey, I just talked to Scott at Brent and
Yeah,
he knows Dr. Collins. Big John is phenomenal. That place is the best.
awesome. Yeah,
Um,
I didn't talk to John. I talked to Ryan,
yeah, Ryan's cool.
Ryan Smith. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think he might back in the day he was in like Idaho or Montana or something. Um, but yeah, that's a sweet place. All
Hmm.
right, Brian Croft's email is bcroft, so BCROFT at siu.edu. And just that nice email that you sent to us, I would just copy and paste it with his name in there because that was perfect.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
he's a good research based person. He's connected with I'm drawing a blank. Experiential education.
And
What
how
is
do
the?
you know Eric?
He was a professor at SIU. So
Oh.
yeah, I think he was a professor. He might have been doing his grad work.
Hmm.
I think he was a professor. Um, it was a while ago, but I'm pretty sure he was a professor, either doing undergrad as a grad assistant.
Hmm.
That was like 2001.
Yeah,
So, 2002.
I've learned a lot from him.
Yeah, he's a really good research-based,
Yeah.
analytical, by the book, but also has a crafty little mind too.
Definitely.
Yeah. So experiential education um, is a really good one to kind of connect with, EEA. And I'll send you, if I think of it too, and I can find some more stuff, I'll send you some stuff. But
Okay,
Brian
that'd be
Croft,
awesome.
truly like, hey, I just talked to Scott at Options. He put you on a pedestal. Would love to pick your brain.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
he's tight.
I'll definitely send him an email today.
Yeah.
That would
And
be
then if
awesome.
you need anything or want to bounce some ideas off of stuff, let me know.
Mhm.
Um, but if you're on the path of what you just mentioned for Big John, those are the places that you want to be.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
really good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I knew
I,
seemed like a cool program, I knew
no,
other people that had done internships with them, but it's good to know that
yeah, you remember
real
like
they're great.
Seuss and Knowles and all that, which I hope still exists, but National Outdoor Leadership School and Knowles and all
Yep.
that. So Big John's program, SOAR, was based on focusing on the LD population. So
Right.
it takes all that components. I mean, they go to
Hmm.
Argentina and all over the place, and it's
Yeah.
experiential based like nowhere. I've always wanted to work for them.
Hmm.
Sure. So, and I
Well,
knew
that's great to know.
John's predecessor pretty well too. So,
Yeah.
well, I want to be a good steward of your time. If you need anything, let me know. I appreciate you reaching out, and
Mhm.
if you need some recommendations or just want to touch base before you submit the report, I'm happy to read through it or whatever you need.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you
all
so much. I really appreciate it. This was
yeah.
awesome.
Appreciate you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.